All right. Welcome back. It's your boy Sosa Picks back with another episode of Sunday Morning Quarterbacks on the Win the Day TV YouTube channel. Catch us on Twitter at Sunday Quarterbacks or X, or if that's what you want to call it, which if you're immature like Elon Musk and want to call it X because we know what he's really doing with that name. It's kind of childish, but I respect it because he's the richest man in the world. And some people, you just got to leave them alone and let them do whatever the fuck it is they're doing. With that being said, I do have two co-hosts. One is my partner at the Win the Day VIP, in which the baseball season just concluded with the Texas Rangers taking away the World Series, their first in franchise history. Corey Seager winning World Series MVP, becoming the second position player to ever do that. So just etching his name in the history of the game. Obviously, this is a football show, but I felt compelled to shout out Corey Seager, who basically is the only reason they won a title, and they should be thanking the Los Angeles Dodgers. With that being said, I'd like to welcome in my two co-hosts, Spin Doc Sports, the GOAT of all K-props himself, and my boy D-Mac Wake, the GOAT himself. How are y'all today? How we feeling?
D-Mac, go ahead.
Feeling great, man. Feeling good.
Yeah.
Another week back. Week 9, middle of the season. Trade deadline is behind us. Team's starting to make some adjustments and keep on making some money and breaking down these games.
You feeling good off that fat L?
Hey, man, it's tough to be a team 17 straight times, dog. It's very difficult to do.
Oh, don't worry, man. I had to pick on you first. I'm on a 3-game losing streak.
I thought you were talking about my team because I'm like, yes, we took the L, and guess what? We got plenty more where that came from.
Save the good ones for later on. Don't even worry.
That's my Bucks. That's my Bucks right there. No, simultaneously. I mean, doing good. Simultaneously, a little bummed because my biggest cash cow strikeout props are now done. But second and third biggest cash cows, NFL and college basketball. One's going on in full force. The other one starts next week. So never stops.
It really doesn't, man, especially when you're committed to this sports betting stuff the way you and I are.
MAC and CAA basketball start next week. I know that doesn't excite many people, but it excites me.
Listen, man, when I saw this guy betting on Boston University, I thought he was crazy at first.
Iona, Boston University, Towson.
When I seen that, I was like, wait a second.
Delaware State, all those teams, man. I love those teams.
It's a different guy right here, man.
I
don't know any of those teams, but he says bet it. I'm gonna put the money on. But nonetheless, here we are, week 9. We did this after week 4 and 5, right? Like, which is the unofficial quarter poll and the unofficial halfway poll, because 17 is an odd number. Obviously, lots to be said last week. Kirk Cousins tearing his Achilles. Very, very unfortunate situation. Really kind of makes you wonder where that franchise is going to be headed. Obviously, Spins in Minnesota. I'm sure your friends and homies are sick because it leaves an organization really in no man's land. You don't know what the hell. You don't know the future health of the quarterback who wasn't under contract, and Justin Jefferson's hurt. He's due a ton of money. Just unfortunate. You never want to see anybody go down and get hurt. It's just an unfortunate situation with him. Anything major other than that?
Yeah, I was just gonna talk about just the general feel here in Minnesota. I mean, Kirk is. I mean, you know, all the memes about how he's like rolling in Kohl's Cash and has the khakis and the button up. It's like, dude, he fits in so well right up here. It's like Scandinavian dude, you know, right? like dressed in his pleated khakis and his button up flannel, dude. That is everywhere I go. I'm pointing to my window. Everywhere that I go, every day, every errand I'm going to run today, I'm going to see 15 Kirk Cousins. So he fits in perfectly here. But Vikings fans, there's usually 2 major types, and I can say this having lived here my whole life, is one are Chicken Littles, where the season's over and we're not going to win any more games and we should just tank for Caleb right now, even though we still have too many wins to get him at the moment. Or number 2 is, yeah, you know, the more I watch film on this Josh Dobbs, I'm thinking he could be kind of like a mini Mahomes. And I'm like, okay. So those are the 2 opposite ends of the spectrum you get with traditional Vikings fans here. So either we're going to suck and lose every game, or Dobbs is going to be the steal of the trade deadline over the next 35, or Jaron Hall is
The second coming.
he's got a little Josh Allen in him. I'm like, he plays quarterback. That's what he's got.
Listen, when Jaron Hall entered the game last week, I immediately bet on the Packers.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, they still got a chance. And he immediately turned the ball over, which was, you hate to see it, right? Because it's like, damn, it's a young kid. But if you are a sensible human and you followed the NFL for the last decade or any period of time, you know that the only way you really win NFL games where your quarterback has to come out in the middle of the game is Andy Reid is the coach, or you were up enough to where the other team just couldn't put together enough drives. And that's all that happened last week. That's it. Because Jaron Hall had Kirk gotten hurt in the second quarter, they'd have lost the game because he couldn't do shit.
Nope.
And that kind of tells you a little bit about where the Packers are at. I mean, they still can mount that comeback. I mean, it's been a incredibly difficult season up there in Green Bay. I've heard a lot of Green Bay fans panicking and like, I'm not used to this losing stuff. I'm like, yeah, you guys have a human quarterback. Good luck. Have fun with that.
Yep. And it also speaks to, I mean, for the better part of probably like a year and a half now, I mean, obviously LaFleur drafted Jordan Love, believes in Jordan Love, is pushing Jordan Love, pushed Aaron Rodgers by some accounts out this year for Jordan Love. It's like, well, be careful what you wish for, because I think that Aaron Rodgers with one Achilles might be able to play a little just the same as Jordan Love is right now. Not going well. But the only thing I'm going to say about the Vikings, and regardless of what quarterback they start, is a lot of their offense and a lot of Kirk, like one thing that Kirk did extremely well was put a nice touch on the deep ball. And the major weakness of both Jaron Hall and Joshua Dobbs are they don't have good touch on the deep ball. So it's going to change the offense considerably. If you're Jefferson or an Addison owner or a Hawkinson owner, you got to keep holding on to them. You got to keep playing them, but just temper your expectations. That's
I'm
all
trying
I'm
to walk Hawkinson in every league I got him right now. I'm trying to trade the shit out of him.
Temper your expectations. That's what I'll say.
Trying to get him the fuck off the team.
The Cardinals have had an insane tight end target rate to this point. So it could be a situation where Hawkinson just gets peppered with even more targets on top of what he has been. Obviously, the quality of targets will change. Obviously, Kirk Cousins is spectacular. We'll have to see if Josh Dobbs ends up playing. But if Hawkinson has a bad week this week and you can buy low on him because of how bad the tight end position is, maybe it wouldn't be a bad thing, assuming that Josh Dobbs is going to be the quarterback moving forward. We'll end up seeing. So,
yeah, fair enough. Like I said, just had to bring it up. Obviously, watching quarterback makes everybody like Kirk Cousins. It's just there's no way around it now, man. We love him.
Exactly.
We cheer for him, right? Even though we know he's never going to win a title as a quarterback unless he has like amazing talent around him, the defense is A1, and maybe hopefully recovers from an Achilles at 35. Moving forward, we got a nice slate this week. The games this week are much better from top to bottom, from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock. We're going to actually have some games that we're going to enjoy watching. First and foremost, we get a game at 9:30 a.m. on NFL Network involving Patrick Mahomes and the Dolphins.
The Miami Tyreeks.
The Miami idiotic fan base. The Miami morons. Listen, I'm going to just get straight to it. The game's being played in Germany. I'm going to get out. Listen, I think we get an over in this one. And y'all know this bucks every trend that I've gone by this season. Price is over 50. You're supposed to pick the under here when it comes to the Chiefs. But this is just I'm tinfoil hatting it today. The NFL wants entertainment on their TV screens at 9 a.m. Mm-hmm. Okay? You sent Lamar Jackson out there to play against Tennessee, couldn't get in the end zone. Mm-hmm. Right? Yep. Jacksonville, they handled their business. They're a European team at this point. They go there every fucking year. They gave up 2 games to chill in London. 2 weeks in America. I think the NFL, and this is just me, I think the NFL wants points. They want to showcase these quarterbacks. They want to showcase these weapons. I think we get a lot of points. I think we get both teams playing into the 30s. I don't give a fuck about Jalen Ramsey being back. That moves no needles for me. I think he makes plays. Obviously, he made a play last week, but I mean that pick was just
it was thrown right to him. But you know that was
right to him. And I'm not gonna lie, like yes, he played it correctly. But I expect a multi-time All-Pro to be in the right fucking position on a regular, boring read. Like people try to make it seem like this is just a basic read, bro. It's nothing. He did nothing spectacular. Threw the fucking rock straight to him.
Mac Jones tried to throw a 30-yard opposite hash hole shot versus cover 3 and thought it was gonna work. Like he had a cannon on his shoulder. I'm like, Mac Jones, what are you doing? You can't. You're better than this. Like I don't have high expectations, but you're better than this.
And again, they're gonna gas the shit out of it. Listen, I think that obviously the most underrated unit in football is going to be the Kansas City defense. They can perform as well as they have all season. Nobody will give a fuck. The general public will never give them the credit they deserve because 15 is the quarterback and 18 is Dayton Taylor Swift. Okay? Like, nobody gives a fuck about what – they don't care about how great McDuffie's playing or any of those guys. And they're not going to get the headlines. They're not going to get the sexy talk. No one's going to give a fuck about them. No one. I mean, and I'm going to just be honest about it. You're a Chiefs fan. You can beat it into people's heads how good the defense has been. We don't care. No one cares.
That's fair.
Right? So this is me being honest. It's the truth.
Will not disagree one bit. But look,
so,
I'm looking forward to this game. It's a great matchup. I think that you start with the Miami offense. Run defense has struggled at times, and especially not having Nick Bolton obviously is going to be something that's going to be tough for us in the middle. He creates sometimes those negative plays as far as rundowns are concerned that allows us to actually get after the passer and be really elite as far as the secondary. The Dolphins have a nice 21 personnel set. I think they're number one as far as EPA per play, and that is concerned. So whether Spags chooses to match with the extra safety on the field or he chooses to go out of base to really stop that run game is going to be interesting to see. Obviously, we know the speed of Waddle and Hill is incredibly dangerous if you are going to try and play that out of the base. But hey, that's what, generally speaking, that's what Philly did, and it worked out well for them. So we'll end up seeing what they choose to do as far as Spags is concerned. I think that Miami will be able to move the ball ultimately. Will put up points. I think that it does hit that over because I think you see a much better effort, first of all, from the coaching staff because the play calling against Denver Broncos was completely unserious. I looked up the stat, where I should say Robert Mays looked up the stat and then I copied it because, I like to get my sources right. But we on 3rd and 4th downs from the 30-yard and in, we're like 38% as far as getting the first down on those plays. The league average is 60%. It's been awful. That needs to change, but overall, I think the coaching staff is going to do a much better job. Mahomes should be a little bit better locked in because he did have the flu. These guys need to take this seriously. I think they go over there expecting to put on a show, especially from the offensive standpoint. Wide receivers are a little bit more locked in as well. So I think this does get up there. Now, I will be objective as I possibly can. I do have the Dolphins winning this game 20-24, but I do think that does hit the over, and I think you get some explosive plays out of both teams, especially.
All right. I'm going to go contrarian here. I'm on the under for this one. Looking back, I can't discount the 6-hour time difference. The same as London. And Chiefs flew over to Germany and got there on Friday morning. The Dolphins got there Thursday night. So as far as like time adjustment, you don't have that much time. I know the players say that they're not worried about it, but you go back and look at every team that's played overseas that in that 6-hour time difference that has flown over 3 or less days before the game. And you just don't see anybody over 24 points. Will that happen? I mean, could that happen with these two teams? Yeah, of course it could. Mahomes fully healthy now. But the thing that I look at here is that I also look at the Chiefs have the number 4 ranked pass DVOA defensively. They also have the number 3 ranked pass DVOA against number 1 wide receivers. Number 1 wide receivers average only 8 targets per game and only 46 yards per game. Now, will Tyreek Hill get more than 46 yards? I would expect him to, but I do not like any of Tyreek Hill's props this week. I know you can say it's a revenge game and this and that, but it's also against a defensive coordinator who knows him exceptionally well. So it's one of those ones where I'm sure as hell not betting the under. I personally believe at this point, if you bet on the under yards on either AJ Brown or Tyreek Hill or Jamar Chase, you probably should not do this anymore. It's over or nothing for all three. What's that?
I said you're fucking brain dead if you're doing that.
All three, you're betting the over or you're passing. It's, baseball season just got over. It's like Spencer Strider. People are like, do I dare go under on Strider? I'm like, fuck no, you don't. No. Either go over or you pass. Those are your options with him. Same difference here. So anyways, Miami's past DVOA, not the best, not the worst, middle of the pack. They do struggle a little bit against number one wide receivers. They're 23rd, averaging 90 yards per game. The problem here is that's against wide receivers. I guess I don't really know who the Chiefs' number one wide receiver is. Rashee Rice, maybe?
It's Rashee Rice, but
Yeah, Rashee Rice. I mean, technically the best receiver is Travis Kelce, but this measures stats against the wide receiver position. So
it's Travis Kelce and the Pips.
Yeah. So for me, I see this one coming up just a little bit short. I would not be surprised if it hovers right around that total all game, but like 28-21, 27-21, 27-22, somewhere in that range was where I had this one. As far as who wins this game, I would not be surprised if the Chiefs bounce back and win this game. When you look deep into their defensive numbers, they don't get I don't think that they get enough credit for it, but their advanced defensive metrics are exceptional. Their blitz rate, their blitz success rate, their number one coverage rate, their coverage rate beyond 10 yards. I mean, all of those rank in the top 10, some in the top 5. So, I know that a lot of the attention gets paid to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and by proxy Taylor Swift, and the whole offense. But the real story to me for the Chiefs has been their defense, and they are organized defensively to do a lot of things that the Dolphins thrive on. So that's where, for me, if you're going to bet on this game at all, I would personally go with the under, barely under. And right now the Chiefs you can get them at minus 122. Normally it's a little rich for what I would like taken on a money line, but I would not be opposed to taking a small shot on the Chiefs money line here. As far as fantasy goes, I mean, look, the guys you're normally starting, you're starting. I said this morning, even too, with Raheem Mostert, is that he did practice fully recently. And my comment on him was, if you were starting him before yesterday, you're starting him now. So that's going to change nothing. He's listed as questionable. He's fully expected to play. But, I mean, for these two teams, look, if you have Tyreek, you're starting him. If you have Waddle, you're Tua, Mahomes. I mean, the guys to start. The only one that I think that might be a borderline call would be Rashee Rice. I think that Rashee Rice is extremely startable this week. He's second right now in catches and yards. And the Dolphins, two wide receiver ones, I talked about their ranking. They've also allowed a 70.2% catch rate to wide receiver ones on opposing teams. So Rashee Rice's catches and his yards make a whole lot of sense.
All right, listen, we're on opposite sides. I have to say this. We're on opposite sides. The game is going to go over. I'll almost guarantee that. That's just me. That's where I'm at with it. I think we we're putting stock into the defenses, and you already know I'm on the opposite side completely. I think both teams score 30. Mm-hmm. That's just, like I said, 10-4 hat. I already bet the pregame third quarter over. You give me scripted drives from Andy Reid and Mike McDaniel. It's 10.5 right now. I'm betting it pregame. Nobody's usually dumb enough to bet that pregame. Bet it pregame. Because at halftime it'll be like 13.5. Because you're going to see these offenses just walk each other down. That's my expectation here, bro. I don't.
No, I get it.
I'm rocking with Patrick Mahomes at plus 500 for a touchdown. Jerick McKinnon's season starts tomorrow. He'll score a touchdown too. Okay. So those are the two guys I like. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, and then obviously D-Mac will give you the last word because it's your team, and we'll let you get the final forecast. Can't believe you bet against them. And one last thing. It's been 406 fucking days since the Miami Dolphins beat a team with a winning record. They're gonna fucking lose. Go ahead.
That is a fact. And Spin, I will also say to your point about the travel, Miami actually got there on Monday. They left early.
They did. That's right.
Yes, they got in early. They have been there for a week now, so maybe that helps out their offense and their adjustment a little bit more compared to us, who I think we wanted to get our schedules kind of synced up as far as the sleep time is concerned. So a lot of science going on. We'll end up seeing which thought ends up prevailing as concerned. But your point about the defense, Spags has done a very good job at allowing this defense to get to different coverages out of a lot of different looks. And that's exactly how you have to attack the Dolphins offense. You have to be able to change that picture after snap and make Tua think just a little bit longer so you can hold the ball and get that pressure to him. So, again, this is, in my personal opinion, this defense for the Chiefs has got to stop the run and earn the right to rush the passer. If they get into those situations, I think they can get to those things that have made them elite this year and can really cause some problems for Tua. So that's what it comes down to, the Miami rushing offense versus the rushing defense of the Chiefs. That's the biggest mismatch in this game, and that is where the Chiefs have to get enough stops to get off the field and hopefully win this game.
But you did pick against them.
I did pick against them.
It's on wax.
The only one who picks against the Chiefs is the Chiefs
I'd
fan.
happily be wrong.
It's on wax. It's on wax. I got nothing to say.
Sorry, one last thing I talked about Rashee Rice. His over catches are over 3.5 right now, but it's juiced as hell. It's at -155. Don't play that. If you can play an alt line for 5+ catches and you can get that at plus money, do that.
Love to hear that.
On team, they got to pepper him with targets. Go ahead, Sos.
Listen, we're going to talk about this game for less than 5 minutes. Okay. Less than 5 minutes. Okay. It's 2 backup quarterbacks, right? One that we fucking told you would be starting some point soon. Talk about the Vikings. Rest in peace to Kirk Cousins this season. You know what I'm saying? It's over for him. It's going to be rough. Listen, I just want to say we have defeated Desmond Ridder. Good riddance to the Riddler, Mitter, whatever you want to call him. I think Atlanta can be a good football team now. I do. I don't care what anyone says. He was the problem for me in Atlanta. I like Atlanta to win this game relatively convincingly. I do not think that Jaren Hall is good. They do not have a running game that they can lean on. They do not have the best receiver on the team available. And as much as I love Jordan Addison, people continue to underrate how good Kirk Cousins has been because he doesn't have a level of postseason experience or success. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And that's what I hate about football is that people don't realize, like, bro, only one team wins it. Only one team gets to walk away with the trophy, and they don't get 7 chances to get it. And we will dump a bunch of hate and distasteful thoughts on quarterbacks that aren't able to win the Super Bowl. You know, the Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, guys like that who have sustained winning for organizations that weren't winning right before they showed up consistently. And, you know, like the media and just casual fans have so much to say. I'm only giving, and that's like that's the last time I'm defending Kirk Cousins because most of the time I just call him a loser and keep it moving. I think Atlanta wins this one. I like Heineke in the offense. I think as a passer, he's better. I'm kind of sick though. I had a future on Desmond Ridder to get 5 rushing touchdowns. He's got 3. Maybe they can bring him in wild. Maybe they can turn him into a Taysom Hill type. That would be sweet. Look at me coming up with ideas for that offense to be successful. But yeah, y'all got any thoughts on this one? Because we can move real fast. Vikings.
I got just real quick. For those that don't know, scouting report on Jaren Hall. Decent size, decent mechanics, has taken care of the ball. The one thing he does not do is throw the deep ball. Talked about that earlier. Does not throw a good deep ball. It kind of flutters. It's kind of like a duck. A lot of Kevin O'Connell's offense is predicated on some of those deep routes on either JJ or Addison going deep to clear out a safety and draw a double team so you can run Hockenson or Osborne or whoever on the underneath stuff. They're not really going to have that anymore because teams, if they don't watch film, they'll pick up pretty quick that Hall does not throw a good deep ball. I wouldn't expect a lot of turnovers in this game. A lot of people were asking me, well, do I pick up the Falcons defense? And I said, I don't think they're good enough to be startable. And you also have a rookie quarterback who traditionally has been more of a game manager, who has been a guy who's taking care of the ball. So turnovers equal points in fantasy. The other one that I wanted to talk about was Jordan Addison. He's averaging 21.5 PPR points and almost 80 yards receiving over the last 3 weeks. That puts him in the top 5 of every wide receiver in the league. Sosa already talked about. It's no Kirk Cousins, so temper your expectations for this one. I have him down for about 50 yards. It's probably his top out. He might catch a touchdown, but I think if you don't have any better options than Addison, which chances are at wide receiver 3 spot, or maybe even 2 for you, you probably don't. You can use him, but just know that his upside is going to be extremely limited this week. As far as the Falcons go, I think that you can start either tight end because with Drake London out, you're going to see a lot more targets funneling to the tight end, a lot more short throws. And assuming he doesn't like cramp up in warmups again and really cost people, Bijan Robinson should get a healthy touch increase as well. So those would be the 3 biggest beneficiaries to Drake London being out. You also have a quarterback who has a little bit of experience as a starter, so he's not totally like a scared kid out there. As far as the game itself goes, I think Falcons win. As far as who covers, the spread has jumped from Falcons +1 to like -3.5. So I hate it at that number. Total looks to be right about correct. So that would be the only places I would look. I don't plan on having much action in this game.
All right.
Yeah, my only 2 things are tight ends. Falcons are terrible against the tight ends. And we'll see. Hopefully that game manager relies a little bit on Hockenson. Like you said, London out, Pitts, Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith's been actually a kind of an underrated guy to just throw in there if you're desperate at the position. So tight ends, as far as I'm concerned, going to see the targets as the pass game funnel there. Otherwise, don't watch this game. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. Like I said, I only wanted to have a victory lap on Desmond Ritter's grave. That's the only reason I brought it up, to be honest with you. I have
with all due respect, rest in peace, Desmond Ritter. Because you Falcons fans tried to act like he was good for 2 seconds.
Lord God, they saw him not be able to break 3,500 yards in any of his 4 years in college and thought he was good playing in the AAC or whatever the fuck. Let's keep him moving.
Oh, he played in the college football playoff. Yeah, because his defense had like 8 NFL players on it.
Yeah, like bro, exactly. But again, we don't make the rules. We just abide by them. Next game on the schedule, the Seahawks taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Seahawks 5.5-point dogs, traveling leaders of the NFC West, looking like a good team. Traded for Leonard Williams, who I believe should shore up a lot of the deficiencies on that defensive line, which is one of their biggest issues. Being able to run the ball right at them the last couple of years. That's a great fit. As a Seahawk hater, I didn't like seeing it, but the game is the game. The Ravens functioning at an extremely elite level on both sides of the ball. If you've watched football, you're trying to figure out how they still have 2 losses. I still am trying to figure it out. They've dominated every single one of their opponents for some stretch of every game that they've played. And I mean, like, they smacked the shit out of them at some point in every single game that they've played this year. They have imposed their will at some point. The only issue is at times they've allowed a couple of the other teams to hang in there and give them life. And basically they breathe life into those teams. So in this one, I like Baltimore, obviously. The money line's a little too juiced. I think that mobile quarterbacks also give Seattle hell. So I listen, I'm all things Lamar here. I like Lamar rushing yards. I like him to score a touchdown. And Lamar's, I believe, like 16-1 against NFC teams, but he don't lose to NFC teams. He just doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, I don't make the rules. He does. Like, when he plays an NFC team, he beats the shit out of them. Like, you look at the tape against Detroit, Jesus Christ. Like, it's just, there's nothing you can do. I don't know. It's something with him. It's like, I guess he thinks like every team in the NFC is a potential Super Bowl candidate, that he could see it in the Super Bowl, and he wants to beat the shit out of them. That's the only takeaway I have from his results against NFC teams. So if you're betting Seattle, best of luck. The 5.5 is the purgatory number. You'd be inclined to take the 5.5 as opposed to betting on Baltimore. Seattle also one of those West Coast teams that's performed pretty well under Pete Carroll traveling east at 1:00, which is something we always look for. So my expectation in this one is hard-fought ball game. Baltimore wins the game. I have them winning by 5 points. So the 5.5, whichever way you want, I think Seattle backdoors. That's my anticipation. I think Baltimore. I don't think Seattle can game plan to stop them for the whole game. And I think last week was a Las Vegas give back. You ask me, that the last couple drives in that Arizona game were super fishy. My God. So, and then like I said, I'm on Lamar, Zay Jones catches, and I like Mark Andrews as well. Spin, D-Mac, whomever wants to go first.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say this as far as this game is concerned. Both of these teams leading their division. Both of the teams have played well. I like that Leonard Williams trade a lot. I think that is going to help them be able to stop the run in the light boxes that they continuously do. That's something Williams always has been able to do. He's been a little bit, from a production standpoint, down as a pass rusher, but his advanced stats are still pretty solid. So you want to see if he can kind of marry those two in a little bit of a better situation. I think this is a good piece for them to add to their defensive line. Seattle, to me, is just like right on that fringe where I like them a lot, but I need to see the offensive line get a little bit healthier, then perform on money downs a little bit better. This is a very difficult spot to do that because of how well the Ravens play, because of how well they get pressure from different angles, the way that defensive coordinator has them playing at an extremely high level. You got to give that young kid credit for what he's doing for that team. The versatility on their back end, obviously both of their linebackers playing very well. It'll be interesting to see how the Seattle offense is able to handle this. I think that Lamar Jackson, as of today, is my personal MVP pick, since we are at that halfway mark as far as I'm concerned. Playing spectacular football, throwing the ball all over the place, to which some of his detractors, for some reason, thought that he couldn't. And so it's been very fun to see this Ravens team come together. I think that they do end up winning this game. A backdoor cover certainly makes a lot of sense to me. But for me, it's a bit of a fact-finding mission, because if the Seahawks offense can have a good showing against this great of a defense on the road, I think that'll bode well for them for the rest of the season. They have a very difficult schedule coming up. This is a little bit of a tentpole to say, hey, where are we? Where do we need to continue to get better? Where do we need to adjust so we can get ready for this stretch that is going to be very difficult for us? So a little bit of fact-finding mission for the Seahawks. I think the Ravens win the game, but I think it is entertaining because these are two very good teams.
Oh, all right. Yeah, for me, I personally think that Harbaugh and the Ravens finally got smart and paired Lamar with an offensive coordinator who is going to be able to let him utilize his strengths, but also could work on what some called, I thought that the talent was there, his weakness, which was throwing downfield. And that's Todd Monken. And so, that's an example where I think under Greg Roman, who was the opposite, who liked to have everything not spread out, everything within the hash marks, and all those design runs to the inside. First of all, you're putting your multiple $100 million quarterback at risk every time he does that, instead of running to the outside where you can go out of bounds. And number two is there weren't any downfield passing routes. There was no creativity in the passing game. And so what I like that what Monken's done is basically taken the line of, hey, I'm going to make you a better passer. I'm not going to worry about the runs. When we call it, you just do your thing. Whereas Roman tried to control all of that. So I think that the Todd Monken effect, this is what I actually said this preseason. I said this in all my preseason previews, is that by about this time, you'll start to see the Todd Monken effect on Lamar Jackson. And you are. So as far as this game goes, I do lean the first half over for this one. This has dropped a few points. I'd open at 46.5, now down to 44. I like the full game over a little bit, but the reason why is because, number one, Seattle is 9th in the NFL in fastest pace in the first half. They're also first in fastest pace when the game is tied. And so with only a 2 to 3 point spread in the first half, you would expect to see a lot of those situations. Baltimore slower in pace in the 20s, but even in their road games, Seattle has made teams, at least in the first half, play a little bit quicker pace. What you also have is you have a Seattle team who is 29th against defending wide receivers. More specifically, they're in the low 20s for defending wide receiver number ones. I'm looking at Zay Flowers. I have the kid on nearly every dynasty team that I own. I love the kid. I made it a point to draft him in as many leagues as I could get my hands on him. I think he's got a huge future, especially as Lamar keeps developing as a passer. The two that I'd be shaky about, though, are DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Both are going to play, but they're nursing injuries, both hip and hamstring, I believe, or ankle and hamstring, one of the two. But both of them did return to limited practice. They're both fully expected to play, but they're also traveling across the country. And if you're looking at Lockett, understand that Baltimore ranks 3rd in the league in least yards allowed to wide receiver 2. So, I mean, if you consider Metcalf the wide receiver 2, maybe you look there, but I consider Lockett to be their wide receiver 2. He is for targets. He is for red zone targets. So Ravens 3rd in the league, do not allow many points. And if you look at Lockett's matchups, banged up Lockett against those cornerbacks, it doesn't look very pretty. So as far as the game goes, Sosa said it, you're in no man's land at the 5-point spread. I've made it a point in my NFL betting career to not take those and not touch those unless it's a live situation and I can watch. So pregame, I don't like anything from the spread perspective. I like the first half over way more than the full game total over.
Absolutely, man. And again, definitely going to be some opportunities for Seattle as well in this game. But again, Baltimore's defense has just been outstanding on every level. They generate pass rush without great edges. They're just not much else to be said. Been an elite football team this season. Next game I want to get into is a game involving another trash-ass organization. Well, actually, 2 trash-ass organizations. One gave Daniel Jones $140 million, and the other fired another head coach in season, which rarely happens, but with the Raiders, it's become the norm because they've done it twice in the last 3 years. Listen, this Raider situation became a problem when they let Rick Bisaccia out the door. They should have never done that. You had a head coach who was revered throughout the NFL as an offensive genius, as a guy who was a football guy in John Gruden. You relieve him of his duties. You replace him with a guy who rallied the entire locker room and made it to the playoffs, obviously eventually losing to the team that got to the Super Bowl. And you fucking fire him. You fucking let him out the building. That's where it all started. Josh McDaniels has proven to us that he's not a competent NFL head coach. We already saw enough of that in Denver. We saw that. The motherfucker thought that Tim Tebow was a viable starting fucking quarterback in the NFL. He should have never gotten another fucking job after thinking that bullshit. All right? But there are people who obviously give Bill Belichick so much reverence, who's a defensive guy, that the motherfucker that was calling plays for Tom fucking Brady got credit somehow for being good. Right? Like, what the fuck is up with that? Second time got a shot too. And since McDaniel walked in the building, the entire organization took a complete nosedive, in my opinion. The players don't fuck with him. The fans don't fuck with him. And they had to get rid of him. That's how it worked out. He had to go. On the Giants side, I was really looking forward to Darren Waller playing. I'm just kidding. We knew at some point he would get hurt. He always does. Because just like, come on, man. He's made a paper fucking mache. Love the guy, but come on, you know. I was hoping for some level of something to talk about in regards to it. But for me, I think that obviously Devontae Adams is going to catch 10 passes minimum. They're going to throw him the rock. O'Connell's throwing him the rock. Look at the numbers. When O'Connell's in the lineup, he threw him the ball. It's probably why Jimmy G's the fuck out of there now. Mm-hmm. And they got rid of that Patriot way bullshit. That shit doesn't fucking work. It doesn't work outside of Boston, guys. There's one Patriot way. That's in fucking Foxborough. That ain't anywhere else. It don't work nowhere else, not even for players that leave. It'll never happen. You cannot replicate that. Because unless Tom Brady in his prime is coming with you, that shit don't exist. So that was my soliloquy. As far as the game, I like the over. I think both teams will put up points. I think you get rid of Leonard Williams. I think Jacobs here is gonna probably perform well. I think he broke out of his slump last week. And if Jimmy G's not your quarterback, they probably win that game against Oakland or against they probably win that game against Detroit. But he's an idiot. And he sucks. He couldn't. Imagine not being able to throw to a wide open best receiver in the NFL.
Multiple times for long touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, and Devontae has every reason to be upset. And also, my final thing in regards to this before you guys can talk about whatever plays you like. The fact that they didn't trade Devontae lets me know he'll be on the team next year. Mm-hmm. He'll be on the team next year too. Because this year they had an opportunity to take all the debt, to take the cap hit and be fine moving forward. They would have been fine. Had they traded him, they could have gotten assets for him, and they could have been easily moved the rest of his money. Now, no team's taking 80 M's. So if Raider fans think that Davante Adams is going somewhere, he's not fucking going anywhere. Mm-hmm. He is not going anywhere, especially now, because this was their one opportunity to get him out the building to another team. They didn't get the compensation. He's in their long-term plans, I promise you, which is why they cleaned house. They said, okay, you don't like what's going on, we'll clean house, but you're not going nowhere.
And they even gave him a basketball hoop in the locker room so that they could make him feel a little bit more.
You're worried about the wrong shit. That's why they're losing. I love that guy. I love him. His awareness, his awareness of what's going on is next level too, because I love the fact that he's like, I'm not going to say anything that's going to be misconstrued in the media. Because you want me to throw my teammates under the bus. You want me to throw my coaching staff under the bus. You want me to say something negative so that you have something to post on Twitter, so that you have something to post on your blog, so that this media site can pick it up and ESPN can be talking about it. I ain't even give you the chance. So shout out to him for that.
Yep.
Yes. I think that teams significantly underrate what a culture builder can do for a team. You talk about Rich Bisaccia, and I said this. I mean, you can't just throw away these guys that are able to get these teams to continue to play. Like, one thing we always talk about, the dead cat bounce that happens when a team fires a coach, and then you can get that immediate bounce back. And I think to an extent you're going to see this here. But Rich legitimately got that team to turn around and go to the playoffs. That is no small feat coming in as an interim head coach. And just to kick him out the door for a guy that we've seen fail in multiple places is kind of crazy to me. Obviously, it didn't end up working out, and now Mark Davis is paying both coaches a lot of money not to coach his team. But shout out to the Aces who, are funding that right now.
Well, Asia Wilson done made it okay to fire the coach and bench the quarterback in one day. Insane.
Crazy. Look, as far as the game is concerned, I think the Raiders have that cat bounce back after losing their head coach. I think they're also just a better team. I think their offense gets it together enough to get the job done. The Giants, I think, are a little bit in fold mode at this current moment in time. And I mean, it's tough to watch the Giants play football, honestly. That Giants-Jets game was just god-awful. So, yeah, I think the Raiders get the job done. I think Davante Adams gets like 15 targets just because he's going to have to get 15 targets at this point this week because he's running the wide receiver room in the offense at this current moment in time. Shout out to him for that. Yeah. So we'll see. And like you said, Davante Adams being a part of their long-term plans, this is why I don't think you saw many wide receivers change teams as far as the trade deadline is concerned, because the bad teams, and it's very few that are bad teams that are completely out of it, they want to hold on to these guys, these premium guys, that they can have their young quarterback that they assume that they'll be getting here come into that situation a little bit better. And obviously the teams that are actually good, they want to hold on to these guys. So a little bit more premium assets where the wide receivers are a little bit less expendable right now than pass rushers, especially those that are pending free agency. So a little bit trade deadline dug it there, but yeah, I think the Raiders win this game. But again, don't watch it. Go ahead, Spence.
Yeah, I'll make this real simple. I'm going to list the sum total of the players you should be starting in fantasy from this game: Adams, Davante, Jacobs, Josh. I'm done. No, seriously, that's it. I would start and probably Saquon. You probably have to start and you have to start Saquon. So those three. I would not take any part of the Giants passing offense, even though Daniel Jones is not listed on the final injury report. He'll be back. I honestly don't know if that's a good thing. It's probably better than the rookie that they put in at the end last week, but I don't know if that's an upgrade over Tyrod Taylor. I really don't. I think it's probably 50-50 at best. As far as who you'd rather have as your quarterback, all things considered, if they're healthy. So as far as the game goes, yeah, I'm not going to have a lot on this game. It probably nothing. Not going to watch more than about a few seconds here and there because I think I'm going against one of them in a league. So, but besides those three, I would start nobody else in fantasy. I would start nobody else in DFS. Just stay away from this game because while I do agree with Sosa that I think points can be scored and they can hit the over, this game also has, to me, the lowest downside / ugly as shit potential of the week. This one and Cleveland, Arizona. Those two have the potential to be just the two most hideous games of the week that finish something like 18-13, and there's like one touchdown by a third string tight end you've never fucking heard of, and it has no impact on anything betting or fantasy. So I just stay far away from those.
All right. 2 more games left that we're going to get into. First is going to be the NFC East divisional matchup between the Dallas Cowboys. 146 on the money line. Eagles laying 3, over under a 46.5. Interesting matchup, to say the least. The Cowboys looked really good last week against the Rams. They perform really good against teams not named the 49ers. So, and that's just me being honest. It seems like when they play us, they just forget how to play football at times. They just, it's unexplainable how badly they look against us, and then against the rest of the NFL, they compete and contend, and they look great. It's very weird. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing it, but it's, again, if you're a football fan or you're even a casual fan, it's just it's like a completely different football team. In this one, man, listen, it's hard to bet against the Eagles. The Eagles went and got reinforcements in the back end, and Bayard was probably one of the biggest, best low-key signings or trades of the season. So, you got a former All-Pro ball hawk who plays center field. To go with the corners you have and also it helps, like, because the guys that are hurt, when they come back, they're just only going to add depth to the roster. And then obviously AJ Brown looking like a fucking mutant out here. Like, I don't know what planet he was put on here from or came from, but that guy is about as undefendable as it comes right now. If that touchdown catch at the front pylon last week that's the best catch of the year thus far. I don't even think it's a conversation. I like 2 plays in this one. I'm going with Jake Ferguson. I like his yards. I'm going to play it to 60+. I think he can perform well against. And also the last couple of weeks, they've made an assertive effort to get him the ball a little bit more. I lean the over, but I no bets on it. CeeDee Lamb, obviously, I think everybody's he's coming off a career game last week where he just beat the shit out of the Rams, looked amazing. I like Ferguson. And then obviously, who's going to tell you not to bet on AJ Brown or Devontae Smith, right? Like, or Swift. I do know that Jalen is nursing a knee situation. He won't talk about it. He said he wasn't going to talk about it. They asked him about it, and he immediately left the press conference. So I think he really meant that he wasn't going to talk about it, because when they asked him about it, he immediately left. So listen, it's hard to bet against the Eagles. I want the Cowboys to win them today, though. I really do. I would love for the Dallas Cowboys to do the 49ers a solid and win the game. But it's going to be an uphill climb for the Dallas Cowboys, because this Eagles team is built in every way to be an elite football team, which is what they are. So whomever wants to go, I'll
go contrarian. I'm going to go contrarian again. Dallas wins this game outright.
Ooh, I didn't pick the Eagles. I didn't pick the Eagles.
Oh, okay, good. So either way, Dallas wins this game outright. Money line's up plus 140. There's more value in that to me than the spread. I actually like them both here. If you want no player prop is a lock, but if you want one that I think is still undervalued just because of who it is, Dak Prescott for Dallas. Coming off a 304-yard, 4-touchdown passing win against the Rams. Obviously, it's different because you're against a divisional rival at home. But the big stat for this one was the Cowboys' pass rate was 16% over expected. And what that means is that the rate at which you'd expect to pass given season averages, opponent averages, whatever. Even in a blowout, they were 16% over and coming off of their bye. Now they get Philly, who ranks number 1 in pass rate over expected against. Now, part of that is because they're usually kicking the shit out of teams and they have to pass. But even if you look in the first half, when the games are closer, teams are still going heavy pass over expected against Philadelphia, because you almost have to keep up. It also makes sense too, because the Eagles' run defense has the top ranked DVOA in the league, but they're 23rd in pass defense. only the Chargers are worse in fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks than the Eagles. And one more as the cherry on top, in his last 3 starts against Philadelphia, Dak Prescott has 880 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Those are real numbers. And I know those are not Dak Prescott numbers, but those are real numbers. The only thing that I think could kill that potential is if Mike McCarthy tries to outsmart himself. And we know we've seen that happen before way too many times, tries to get too cute, instead of just, look, we're going to use Prescott to Lamb, and when they start double covering Lamb, we're going to go over the middle to Ferguson and run Pollard on screens, and we're going to let our defense do their thing. Like, Mike, this is fucking simple. You have one of the most beastly defenses in the NFL. Don't tinker with it. Just let them play last week, and they torched the Rams. I mean, it was a 34-0 or 10-3, something like that at halftime. They torched the Rams. So teams are opting to go pass heavy against Philly to begin with. So I like pretty much every Dak Prescott passing prop that exists. And the only one that I don't like is the interception prop. Could he throw one? Yeah, he probably could. But again, last 3 starts, 11 touchdowns, 1 pick, averaging just a shade under 300 yards per game. That was something I even had to step back and be like, is that right? And I went and looked it up. I'm like, oh shit, it is. It is not what I'd expect from Dak Prescott, but he has huge numbers against this team.
It's crazy. I thought I was going to come on here and be contrarian because I kind of like what the Cowboys can do right now. And I think that you've seen a little bit of a change here. Their defense has equipped itself well enough without Diggs. They've been able to kind of paper over with Bland and some other guys stepping up. Their pass rush consistently getting after the quarterback. So the Jalen Hurts nursing the knee injury is going to be interesting because I think that an underrated portion of what the Eagles have been able to do has been his creation, especially when the play breaks down. A.J. Brown has been an absolute alien. We can ask Tennessee if they'd like to trade Treylon Burks back for A.J. Brown at this current moment in time. So that's something to say. But I think that this is a back and forth.
Has he woken up?
You may not have. He may not have. This is going to be a back and forth type of game. I think that Dak Prescott can't get after this Eagles secondary. And I think, like you said, Lamb over the middle, Ferguson over the middle, Pollard out of the backfield would be a nice wrinkle to see a little bit more of as well. I think Dak is operating at a pretty good level. The Cowboys' offensive line has been solid enough as well. Eagles have been susceptible to the pass, as you laid out, Spin. I don't think that there's a place in which the Cowboys are going to go out there and pound the rock unless, like you said again, Mike McCarthy decides to do something stupid. I don't think he does anything stupid this week. I think the Cowboys do go on the road to get a very, very statement win against the one-loss team left in the NFL. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch because I do think it's a back-and-forth game. It'll approach that over. It may end up hitting. But I think we get, like a last drive, a little touchdown from Dak Prescott to get a win.
Facts. Listen, I like both of y'all's takes on this. I'm never going to bet on Dak Prescott ever. I gave him his flowers, though. He's playing good. But he'll never get my money. I'm not disagreeing with either of you, though. Like I think that Dallas is equipped to play well against the Eagles. I'm going to say the same thing I say about Philly every single week. I do not think their defense is all that. But their pass rush rotation is elite, and they can wreck games, and they will wreck games, and they have wrecked games. That's what it comes down to. If they have that pass rush is unique. It's one of a kind. There are other teams that can rush the passer. There's other teams that can do what the Eagles do, which is get by with bad play from your secondary, bad play from your linebackers, and have 4 guys that can fuck up the game at some point for the other team. That is how that defense works.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They're going to make, like you saw it last week against Washington. Washington moving the ball up and down the field, no problem. One defensive stop, one turnover, that's the ball game.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? Hassan Reddick off the edge on 4th fucking down. Calls game.
Blouses.
That's how it works. The defense not good. That pass rush, though, that rotation is, especially when they put you in a situation where you know you got to throw the ball, there's nothing you can do. Because at some point they're going to unleash the hounds and you're going to make that mistake. That's the difference. That's what Philly can do. That's the only thing elite about their defense. Their secondary average, linebacking core below
Bad.
average. That pass rush, holy moly, man, can fuck up any game. Any game.
Yep. Last thing for me on this one is, yeah, I agree with you on the Philly D. Elite at the line, elite run stoppers, and they do a good job of covering wide receiver ones, 10th in DVOA. Wide receiver ones averaging a lot of targets, but not a lot of yards by comparison. So 91.4 yards for wide receiver ones, but that is on 12.5 targets, which is the highest in the league. That's partially because, as I mentioned, Philly is usually kicking the shit out of teams, so they have to pass. Philly's back in prevent or cover, 10, and they're throwing to their wide receiver one. So that makes a lot of sense. Where they don't do well is they are 26th in the league at coverage for wide receiver twos and actually have a second or third, I think, highest number of average yards allowed per game to that position. Now, the problem here is with the Cowboys, I guess I don't really know who's considered their wide receiver two. Is it Gallup or is it Cooks or is it Jake Ferguson? Is it Pollard? They don't really have one. So, if you spot a matchup that you like with any of their secondary passing options, I think you can take over on yards because after you get past how they cover and how they blanket and bracket wide receiver ones, I think that there could be some value for either Gallup or Cooks to see single coverage. If you're going to bet it, it's not something I would go out and put a bag on, but I that one really stuck out to me because it's the only thing for the Eagles that ranks sub 25 in pass defense DVOA is their coverage on number 2 receivers. Almost last in the league.
Yeah, I mean, like Jordan Addison had that bop. Never mind. You got it, man. I agree. If people are listening, they listen. Spence got you covered across the board. I'm a hater of both of these teams. I wish this shit could actually end in a fucking tie, but it most likely won't. Moving on to the final game that we're going to get into, the game that everybody gives a fuck about. We got one elite quarterback and Josh Allen in this NFL matchup. We got the Bills taking on the Bengals. This is the Damar Hamlin Bowl, obviously. Still trying to figure out why they have his jersey in the ambulances in
the
Buffalo.
windows. Yeah,
still trying to figure that out. Still very weird. But glad that he's okay. Instagram photos going crazy, man. He got a stylist. Nobody flicks it up on IG like Damar Hamlin. Nobody's doing it on Instagram like him. You know what I'm saying? He was at the Michael Rubin White party.
Yes, he was.
I seen that. I mean, he's an icon. He's an icon. Shout out to the medical staff in Buffalo for making Damar Hamlin an icon. Because he sucks at football. I'm gonna just be the first one to say it. I'm so happy he's alive and that he never has to play another NFL game. Not that he was even good enough to play in the NFL, because the only reason he was playing last year was because both their safeties were on IR. But nonetheless, glad he's here, glad he's healthy. But now we're going to talk about the NFL players that play for the Bills and Bengals that are actually good at football. And Stephon Diggs, let's start there with good football players for the Bills. Superstar receiver. Obviously, the defense is in trouble. We've seen them deal with injuries across the defensive line. They're starting all-pro linebackers out. They're starting former all-pro corner is out. And they're just, they just traded for Rasul Douglas. But nonetheless, they are they're right there in the mix in the AFC East. Like always, they won the division the last couple of years. Josh Allen, Paul Bunyan, love the guy. Think he's so good that people just lie about him on the internet all the time. The Bengals currently playing their best brand of football that they have all season. They've gotten people healthy, including their quarterback, which obviously helps. He just went on the road and went for damn near 90%. Swiss cheese the shit out of the best defense in football, or so we thought, best defense in football. But we're not going to get into that because that team's on a bye week this week, obviously. And, Jamar Chase and him are they got the Wi-Fi connected. It's clearly 5 bars. T. Higgins came back last week, looked good. Joe Mixon looked good. And all this against the best defense in football, or so they said. In this one, I like the Bengals with the crib. I think they own the Bills from here on out. I think they turn this into a non-rivalry type of deal. I'm eternally grateful that Josh Allen continues to prove to me that he is ass, and he is not as good as people think he is. And when Stephon Diggs demands a trade when the season's over and they don't win a Super Bowl or qualify for one, they'll be in the same situation they're in. But hey, fans of Buffalo, have no fear. You got a new stadium coming. So at least you got something out of this. At least you got a nicer stadium.
Yeah.
Seating's probably going to be better. Probably don't have to wait in line 2 hours for a beer. You're still going to be jumping through tables at the tailgate for no fucking reason. And it'll eventually be another year of pain and suffering for a franchise that once made 4 straight Super Bowls and couldn't win one, with multiple All-Pros on both the offense and defense. And I will not feel sorry for them because I don't fuck with the Bills or their fan base.
Fair enough.
So
I will say, when I look at this game, it reminds me a lot of the Monday Night Football game that you mentioned about Damar Hamlin. If you remember, it kind of Bengals went down the field, scored, Bills came back, scored, Bengals were driving, and then unfortunately the thing happened with Damar. And in my personal opinion, I think it goes in a similar manner where the Bengals have their way with the Bills defense without Matt Milano, without Trayvon Diggs. In flux as far as the defensive line is concerned. I think they do enough as far as getting the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands and him being healthy to where it negates Von Miller coming off the edge, who's still kind of in that limited snap range right now. I think they can get after these safeties, even though they are a good pairing. I think there's just too much open space over the middle for these good wide receivers for the Bengals. Ultimately, I think that it is kind of a 34, 23 type of game. And they end up, having a comfortable lead and putting the game away ultimately. I think the Bills have some opportunities to get after this young secondary for the Bengals. A little bit in flux to this current moment in time. So they'll get some scores, but ultimately the Bengals will just overwhelm them and pull away eventually. So that's my general feeling. I think Cincinnati is the better of these two teams, even regardless of what the record may say. And Cincinnati are better on both sides of the ball, in my personal opinion. So we'll see them keep it rolling and get the job done and make that AFC North even more competitive than it has been to this current moment in time. Go ahead, Spin.
You're on mute.
You're
on mute.
You're mute.
Yeah, I know I've said contrarian a few times on the show with Blaze. There's no contrarian here. I am going traditional line of thinking / chalk pretty much across the board here. Over for points. Both teams' team totals could go over. Bengals win. Bengals cover. There is no part of me that thinks that the Bills win this game. As far as player props or fantasy goes, the one thing that I wanted to point out is that the Bills defense is, so they're 13th against the pass DVOA wise, but that's misleading because against wide receiver number ones, they rank 29th, and the Bengals happen to have one of those who is on absolute fire right now. So anything Jamar Chase makes sense. Again, I know it's going to be popular. I know it's going to be chalky. Chalk wins too sometimes, guys. It's not just all contrarian stuff that makes money. I think that the one place that I wouldn't look to, not that you would on the Bengals anyway, would be the tight end position. Bills rank highly in DVOA against tight ends. Bengals don't really have good ones anyway. So I'm not a huge fan of that. But as far as the game itself goes, yeah, I certainly think that the Bengals handle business here. They were on pace to do that last year as well before the very unfortunate incident. And I'm with you, Sosa. Thank God that Damar Hamlin is okay. Thank God that he's alive. But I think that his future is definitely in motivational speaking and in,
fashion.
Being an inspiration.
Fashion. The outfits.
Fashion, whatever.
The outfits are so fire.
It's not the NFL. It's not the NFL.
Bro. Like, the man went and got a stylist. I respect that. See, Can't everybody dress like me?
So here's my question, though. And I say this with all seriousness to the past situation is, who's going to get shown more from a cutaway on camera or camera? Would it be Taylor Swift last week at the Chiefs game or Damar Hamlin tomorrow night? Seriously, that's a serious question.
I mean, do the Bengals have number 3 jerseys in the windows of the ambulance on site?
I'm just saying.
I have to ask.
Who's going to be showing more?
Who the fuck does that?
And this has nothing to do with Damar Hamlin or the teams. This has to do with the product that the NFL directs on their cameras at games.
We are getting 3 spots during, Sunday night in America. We're getting at least 5 per half cutaways to Damar Hamlin's reactions. We're getting a half.
I think he beats Taylor. I really do.
So cumulatively, or let's get extra with. Let's spice it up a little bit now, right? The cumulative camera time for Damar Hamlin or the length of the national anthem.
Wow.
Good.
I should be a fucking bookmaker.
Is there a site that has a top bet for that? I actually might take that.
That right there, bro. That right there.
I would take that.
Fuck with me now. Like, come on now, fuck with me.
And again, I just want to reiterate, nothing to do with Damar Hamlin. I am so glad the man's okay. I wish him a long, fruitful life and career, and I hope he becomes a billionaire and does whatever he wants to do in life. That has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that the NFL thinks that certain things are not but more important than the game that's on the field right now. Yes, talk about it. Yes, refer to it. But I get the feeling that we're going to hear about it for almost damn near all 60 minutes.
Damar Hamlin has gotten so much money in the last calendar year. He's not even allowed to talk about what the fuck happened to him. Have you not realized that?
Yeah, doesn't need to.
He went to do an interview. They asked him about it, and he said, I don't want to talk about it. Why the fuck you think you're famous, dog?
Because when that happens
was crazy to me.
Because when that happens to you, if you tell it all in interviews, what do you lose? Book deal, Netflix special.
I'm one thinking about that.
I'm being serious. Hold on. One more point. When Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars, Chris Rock literally went into total silence. I'm not talking about it. I don't want to talk about it. The reason why he didn't want to talk about it was because he is a fucking genius marketer, and he turned into a comedy special where instead of making a few interviews and maybe increasing his Twitter and social media following, he made $50 million from Netflix off this shit. And he's a genius. Chris Rock is a genius.
It's also the most watched live stream in the history of the internet.
Yep. He's a genius.
Because it's streamed live from the platform. So that's what it was. It was like,
and if I'm Damar Hamlin,
it's insane.
That's what I'm doing is I'm saying I don't want to talk about it because guess what? Netflix, Amazon Prime,
children's books,
any book publisher. Hey, here's my story. I guarantee you somebody will pay that man millions for it, and he should get it. He should.
We could be your publicist, dog.
He could.
We could be your fuck with us.
He can get that much money, and he should.
I'm chasing M's too. Fuck with us.
That's right.
I'm sorry for saying you weren't good.
No,
I agree though. We could probably agree.
I said he has a future in many avenues. The NFL just ain't one of them.
NFL's not it. Yeah.
NFL is not one of them.
The outfits though. The outfits, the drip check, insane.
Yep.
Insane. Well, that brings us to the conclusion of Sunday Morning Quarterbacks for Week 9, where we shared with you our best bets and looks in 6 NFL games. Make sure you guys are following me, Sosa Picks. Make sure you guys are following Sunday QBs. We have tons of content coming. Listen, the middle of the NFL season becomes very boring. I'm not going to get on the internet and post a million things throughout the week when the games we've gotten and the product we've gotten is ass. Hopefully the NFL gives us a product this week that's watchable, consumable, and actually fucking fun, because the last 3 weeks, that's been lacking. It just has. We've had to endure some of these games, not watch them. We had to make it through some of these fucking games. It's been bad. So I can only hope for a better consumable product than the bullshit we've gotten the last 3 weeks. That's why we haven't wasted our time and gotten on camera. I mean, we thought about it, but come on, don't waste our time, because we're not here to waste yours. We're here to make you money and give you insight on the right stuff. Spin, tell them where to find you. D-Mac, tell them where to find you, and we'll get the fuck up out of here.
At Spin Doc Sports and Win the Day VIP. Just finished printing money in baseball. Sosa's been killing it in NBA. I finished up damn near 10 units. I think I was at 80% last week with NFL. I mean, it just every day is profit. And some people say that, but we actually post screenshots of all our results and prove that. So Yeah,
No plus 100,000. Listen, if you're looking for plus 100,000 parlays, just turn the fucking video off now. Go ahead, D-Man.
Well, and if you're following me and that's what you're trying to bet, unfollow me.
Just fucking
I'm not
block
about
me.
that.
You're not trying to win money. You're trying to win the lottery.
Yeah.
Or if you're about like 100-unit max whale bullshit, like just unfollow me now because I'm not for you.
Internet's a goofy fucking place, man.
I'm not for you.
That it is. You find me at DMacWig316. You'll see me around his spaces. We have Red Friday spaces and also on Kingdom Cast where I do my Chiefs content. Tell the Truth podcast every Tuesdays. Kingdom Cast on Thursdays. Make sure you guys tap in, man. Good to have you back on Sunday morning quarterbacks. Yes, sir.
No, and listen, we won the war. Fuck Desmond Ridder. You'll have a wonderful Sunday. Best of luck to anybody that's wagering on the games. And if your team is playing, I hope they win, unless they're playing against the Niners. Peace.